Let me start with Dr. Sarah here. Doctor, the president came out and spoke on Saturday, said you're playing with fire, talked about foreign actors in his speech. The young people came out on Tuesday, stepped into the streets, various areas. I also saw some in Hoima, some in West Nile. When you see these demonstrations, what do you make of them?
Well, the president on, I think it was Saturday night.
8 p.m.
Yes, addressed the nation on 4 key issues: wealth creation, wetland management in the country, corruption, and demonstrations. When it came to demonstrations, he said the youth who were planning to march to Parliament were playing with fire. He also explained how their street merchandise on Kampala streets. Yet every now and then we see KCCA enforcers chasing poor women with mangoes and yellow bananas, throwing them on trucks, arresting them, some of them languishing in prison. And one would wonder what business takes place on Kampala streets, even when vendors are not allowed to make a stopover on the same streets. He went ahead to say that, talk about the people selling furniture in Bwaise. And if students or youth are planning to march to Parliament, I didn't know whether Bwaise was in question, because most of them were from Nassau Road, Wandegea, Garden City. They were in the city center, where all vendors have been cleared and the streets are empty and clear. So that statement, in my view, did not hold. The president went ahead to say that they are busy creating wealth and there's cheap food. Yes, there are some programs for wealth creation, but what is the percentage of unemployed youth? And what kind of wealth are we creating for unemployed youth? Even when most of them, especially those demonstrating, who are known as Gen Zs, the youth who don't know the world before the internet. We have had the Facebook shut down for now 4 years in Uganda. Most of the young people were making small business in e-commerce on Facebook. Uganda and President Museveni have shut down internet for 4 years. So what wealth are you creating for young people? The digital economy generates 17 trillion globally. It is much higher than the coffee global economy at $600 billion. And you shut down Facebook, you have a high cost of internet, and you tell Gen Zs that you are creating wealth for them. Is that the wealth for them or for my generation and older people? The president also went ahead to say that he will not allow disruption in the city. The president is among the 3 godfathers of the Constitution, the 1995 Constitution as amended. The Constitution has 3 godfathers. Retired Chief Justice Odochi, who presided over the Odochi Commission and the draft Constitution report that was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. The second godfather of the 1995 Constitution is the late Wapakaburo, who presided over the constitution-making process in CA as the Speaker. And the third godfather of this Constitution is President Museveni, who initiated the constitution-making process by signing the terms of reference of the Odochi Commission, but also promulgated the Constitution on 8th October 1995. The Constitution has 3 articles that allow the young people or all Ugandans to protest and demonstrate peacefully. Article 1 of the Constitution, all power belongs to the people, and it has 4 clauses, which I will not go into detail. Article 17 of the Constitution on the duties of the citizen mandates all citizens of Uganda to fight corruption. Article 29 of the Constitution provides for a right to peacefully protest, petition, or demonstrate against any public matter as citizens. The directives of state policy in the Constitution enjoin all state institutions to ensure that the rights and freedoms of citizens are protected and guaranteed. So when the president takes to the media to warn people, those who want to protest, when he himself has made a call for citizens to fight corruption, a duty imposed on the citizens by the Constitution, why is he engaged in doublespeak? Does he want to fight corruption, or is engaged in his usual tokenism of arresting 2-3 people? Then when the momentum of the citizen goes down, then the corruption dies and everybody forgets about it. The IGG has also been on record calling upon citizens to fight corruption, even when it's their duty. And citizens have witnessed civil conduct of corruption, some leaders celebrating corruption, telling poor people that it's okay to steal so long as you bring the crumbs of what you've stolen to the people. What do you expect people to do? Research on Gen Zs, this digital generation, as I conclude, shows that 47% of this generation, between 18 and 25, are so connected. They operate in a world of speed, scale, and scope. They are self-reliant, collaborative, and pragmatic. They cannot watch something going wrong and do nothing about it. This is research titled Gen Z's Explained, the Art of Living in a Digital Age by University of Chicago Press, 2021, but also the University of Pretoria, as well as Stanford Research combined, shows that the generation that you see demonstrating in Kenya, demonstrating in Uganda, the generation that demonstrated against the Gaza-Israel war in the US, is not going to watch a mess in their country and keep quiet. So leaders had better prepare for that.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dombo, let me come to you next. When you hear the president, and as Dr. Sarah said, 4 elements he talked about: corruption, wetlands, he talked about the demonstrations and called it playing with fire. What do you make of the president's address on Saturday, but also this demonstration against corruption?
Thank you very much, Bwana Nyangweso. And I want to thank my sister for the analysis of the president's speech and the situation as is. First and foremost, I want to thank the young people of Uganda for coming up to raise issues. Because when we grew up as young people, we didn't have the medium of expression that they have. We grew up in the villages. There was only one television, which would open at 6 p.m. and close at midnight. Journalists were revered people because they are the ones who are setting the agenda and making news. But right now, because of the digital improvement, because of technological advancement, but also because of UPE and USE, many young people have learned, have gone to school. They can access a lot of communication. They are journalists of their own right. They move with their television sets on their phones and they make their own news and circulate it. They are content creators. So this is a real transformation in the population that we are talking about. That's why I must thank them for behaving maturely during the demonstrations yesterday, those who attempted to, but also to thank the members of the security force. Because unlike the Kyagulanyi demonstration when Honorable Kyagulanyi was arrested during the elections, you see that the conduct of the security agencies on the roads, even when they were fully deployed, it was totally different. There was a higher observance of human rights. They were, of course, they had to deploy to show force because the governments by nature, they are deterrent. They do things to deter. All governments. For us, we don't have here military parades where we parade planes to threaten and show the world the power that you have. But in countries like the US, all those modern countries, they have historical days where they bring out their arsenal to show the potential enemies, but also to show the capabilities to their nation, what they are capable of doing, and the assets that protect them. I want to thank Honorable, my brother here, for enabling government when they passed the budget, because yesterday, the people of Uganda were able to see some of the equipment that you people have been supporting government to acquire, and to see the things that protect us. When you see members of those young people coming up to demonstrate, they must remember that President Museveni promised in the previous elections that he's going to secure the future of the people of Uganda. And what did he mean by securing the future? One, that the young people should have the right to demonstrate, but that right should not injure or infringe on the rights of others who may be trying to fend for their families in order to make a living and also perhaps pay rent and be able to survive. So, the president talked about a number of things. He talked about the environment. I don't know how old you are, Mr. Nyangweso, when the Constitution was promulgated. There was one specific area where the president, during that time when he was promulgating the Constitution, he said he wasn't happy because of the decision that had been taken by the Constituent Assembly to say the land belongs to the people. And he gave his reasons during that time. When you look now, the way many Ugandans want to use the land and the environment, they don't know that this land that we have and we own now belonged to our predecessors. It belongs to us, but it also belongs to the future generation. And the only way the future generation can get it and use it well is when the current generation can ensure that they protect this land, they protect the environment to ensure that the future generations can also live on the same land. Because ever since you read the Bible that God created the land, have you heard God creating more land? God does not intend to do so, at least by what we read in the Bible and what we observe in in science. Through geography, people may do some land reclamation, they may do all this, but they are doing to the land that was created at the time of creation. And God has never added on this land, yet the populations keep multiplying. So, the president has a civic duty as the leader of state and the font and the torch bearer, but also us as citizens of Uganda, when we have an opportunity to, whatever piece of land that you have, let us know that we must use it and protect it to ensure that the future generations get it. On corruption, I listened to the president, first and foremost, only when Chankwanzi, during the leaders' retreat. It was the first time for me to attend such a retreat because I've never been a member of cabinet. But during that introspection retreat, it was very interesting because during the introspection, the government leaders came together to look at the plans and the promises they make the people of Uganda. They came to look at the resources that are allocated. And they looked at the challenges and hindrances. What is it that prevents us from achieving or delivering the services that we promised to deliver to the people of Uganda. And they also looked at the relationship between the individuals and the processes that all this happens. And one very important thing that nobody has talked about that retreat is that there was, at least for me, for the first time, I was able to listen to the presentation about the Development Plan 4, which is about to be launched, and the targets that must be achieved within that. It was a very interesting retreat. And one of the hindrances that was raised by the president, and he raised the statistics about the IGG, was the issue of corruption. Corruption, if the statistics given by IGG is anything that we should go by, and if you see what is happening in many institutions of government, then you can see that unless we wake up and really tighten our belts and fight it, because it has started crawling itself into areas which until hitherto nobody expected that Parliament could get involved to the levels of corruption like it is now. Perhaps my brother here would help us to understand, when did this begin happening? The Honorable from Butambala, that members of Parliament can sit together and they distribute amongst themselves 160 billion. I don't know whether this may not be sub judice because it is already a case in court, but these are things that you read in the papers and you say, but at the time we were in Parliament, when did this happen? Because the constitutional framers delegated the authority to superintend the affairs of the economy into the hands of Parliament.
Honorable Dombo, just around what you're saying there, one is the deployment, but let me give you numbers that came out of the census. 50.5 of the population is between 0 and 17. 18 to 30 is 22. When you make the total, that is 73% of the population. That is 33 million Ugandans out of 45 that are underage. What plight do you know that these young people are going through as the NRM?
Many of these young people have been educated under NRM.
So we're talking about the plight. What do they go through that you're cognizant of what they're going through?
No, I wanted to begin there. That have been educated under NRM. They are using internet that has been enabled by the NRM. But secondly, they want jobs. The young people, when you talk about wealth creation, there may be few individuals who may be innovators, but they don't have capacity to even access credit in order for them to become involving in enterprise. First and foremost, they want to earn income. And who creates the income? It's the government that one creates the environment for the young people. And when the money that should have gone for creation of opportunities for the young people, you are talking about the 1% budget that is spent by Parliament. I've seen their concerns. They shouldn't even. Actually, the concern about Parliament is the morality, because they have delegated authority by the entire population. But when you look at the quantum of the corruption, it's not taking place in the Parliament. You go to the districts and find out what is happening at the level of the districts.
Okay.
Many young people pay money to get jobs, which they end up not getting. And they have gone to school so that they can be well off. When you look at all of us here, and you moved 40, 50 years ago, and you looked at what Honorable Tambala was in his youth time, when you look at my brother here, the doctor, perhaps I don't know, I wasn't there, but I know what I was 50 years ago when I was a young little boy. I was just a villager.
Okay.
But because of the opportunities that were available then, we were able to transform and transform. So the young people are asking, what is it that we must do? And that's what the president was saying. Let us fight corruption to ensure that we deliver service for the young people to get jobs and be well.
Dr. Ivan, let me come to you. When you looked at that speech by the president, and you looked at these young people demonstrating yesterday, they're also deeming to go again on the streets on Thursday. The heavy deployment, Mambas on the street, says security to secure us. I don't know if the members were there to secure them or the placards were weapons. What do you make of these incidents yesterday?
Yeah, not starting from yesterday, but when you analyze the flow of the president's address and speech, it all rotates on the economic issues. What is happening in Uganda and the way it is happening, including corruption, they are all anchored on the economic issues. Starting from his analysis, the historical background on how he came to power and how Uganda emerged the way it emerged before the independence and during independence and after independence and his time, you could see that he was trying to explain how the past, the present, can influence the future. The past, the present, and the future are interrelated. Now moving to his area, which is very much interested in, the wealth creation. He focused mainly on the 3 C's, where we had traditional crops like coffee, cotton, and the other C was what? Copper. Mm. And he also mentioned the 3 T's. That was tea, tobacco, and
tourism.
And he's trying to emphasize that they should be done in a modern way, like all the 3 C's and even like the T's in areas of agriculture, where he emphasized very much on agriculture. But you need to know that a bigger percentage of Ugandans are involved in agriculture. Yes, it is known. Before independence and after independence, we are still in agriculture. To what extent has agriculture become dominant in an economy? It is dominant in employment. It is dominant in job, in exports. It is dominant in areas of provision of raw materials for so many things. So the dominance of agriculture, he emphasized a lot. But one thing is like this. How is it helping a bigger percentage of the population? How is agriculture creating more employment to the youth? That requires an area where you should bring in more technologies which are environmental friendly and even with cost efficiency techniques. And how can the Ugandans go into agriculture to make use of it, create employment, increase incomes, and overcome poverty? You have to use modern techniques, modern technology, and add value on those products, which majority of the Ugandans cannot manage. And the government has a role to play. If government has limited resources, but has a role to play, what can it do? It can use availability, it can use the available potentials from the private sector. And you need to know that in our vision 2040, and even in the 2030 Sustainable Development Programs, Uganda is not emphasizing very well the public-private partnerships, where the government has a duty to deliver service, to do something for the population, and has no capacity in terms of resources, in terms of technology. It has to use the public-private partnership, where the potential private actors can do the work on behalf of the government, but of course on a profit. And at the end of the day...
Who are these private partners you're talking about?
The private partners, let me just explain. How Uganda moved to expanding the private sector while reducing slightly on the public sector. All those started under the structural adjustment programs when NRM had taken over power.
How have they performed? Because when you talk about agriculture, sir,
yes,
we talk about 68% involved directly.
Yes.
Indirectly, it's about 90.
Mm.
The same agriculture you're talking about only contributes 24% to the GDP.
To GDP.
Young people are not involved because agriculture was still using the hoe. The president was using bottles to show how irrigation is done. So when you talk about solar pumps that haven't shown up, what are you talking about that you want young people to do?
That's why I'm saying, if we cannot manage solar pumps, if we cannot manage irrigation, then it is the role of the government to help the wananchi to benefit from the solar and the irrigation facilities that can help the district. And the district cannot manage that. That's where you bring in the public-private partnership initiatives. And that's why I'm saying, do you know why public-private partnership initiatives are not known? We are not building, we are not sensitizing people, even the government, we are not building the capacity on that. But before we go to that one, are we able to adopt or embrace public-private partnership? We have a PP unit in the Ministry of Finance, and it is helping people to know what public-private partnership is all about. And that's why I'm saying, an institution like UMI, you have programs on PP. That's why in fact, indirectly, I can respond to to Honorable Dombo. He wanted to say, how can an institution like UMI help in reducing corruption through its center? Technical capacity building, awareness. Do you know that some positions in MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies are occupied by individuals who have no technical capacity, and that's why they are making mistakes, and corrupt people take advantage over them. That's the role of UMI. That's one of those I have given you. So that one, UMI has a bigger role to play. And don't interfere, I want to continue, I want to explain very well on this. So I'm still on the president's initiative on agriculture. He is very right, because he is emphasizing the role of comparative advantage. A country should do better or should concentrate on more where it can do better than others. We are better in agriculture. Land, rain, we are better. Nature, we are better. But how is government...
How much are we putting into agriculture?
That's where the budget allocation is denying agriculture sector the ability to do what it should have done.
What are the biggest challenges of the private sector?
The biggest challenges of the private sector comes from the policies, regulations.
Credit facilities.
Yes.
Government is crowding out private sectors in credit facilities. Domestic borrowing is the highest in the last 2 financial years. So you're talking about private partnerships. How are they supposed to happen? You're talking about very nice, very beautiful macroeconomics.
Yes.
How does that translate to a young person who is 17, 18?
A younger person will only benefit from the public-private partnership through the trickle-down effects. Has government moved in to emphasize and initiate public-private partnerships through which the youth can benefit through trickle-down effects? Public-private partnership, let me tell you, government has the duty to provide certain services, certain goods and services that the wananchi, mainly the basic needs, like education, health services, transport facilities, and even where possible, food. Because Uganda should be a welfare state. And the welfare state is a state where the minimum basic needs of life should be provided freely by the government. Are we doing that? Are we doing that?
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Let me come back to you. Let me bring in Chris. Chris, Parliament has been at the center of this. I have seen you on Spaces, especially for about the last 3 months. Is Parliament a soft target right now, or is it the right target, especially in conversations of corruption?
I think it is a softer target because Parliament is where popularity games are played. And we have bred a group of leaders who have known how to duck from responsibility and play to the gallery, wholesale. Ugandan political leaders, right from LOC 1 up to where, are popularity game players. So that's why you see this a lot of noise coming to Parliament. Honorable Doma just told you, if it is money you're following, 900 billion as opposed to 900 billion is more painful to Ugandans compared it to what IG just said, 9 trillion lost every year. Just yesterday, IG released corruption, what we lose in the judiciary, in the tax evasion, in billions. But it has not raised, it has not tickled the young people. Gen Zs are not being told. Gen Zs are told it's Parliament where there is corruption. So it becomes a soft target. But is it to say that Parliament does everything right? No. Like in other institutions, it grapples with the challenges. And the challenges must be addressed. And my take is that we lost a lot of things because we don't apply multidisciplinary approaches to resolving our issues. We think each issue is isolated and it should be dealt in isolation. If we talk about unemployment, President Museveni, if I may say, is the only consistent person on his approach on how to develop Uganda. As to whether the options he gives bear fruit is another story. He has talked on corruption, he has talked on what we need to do, but you can't be a lone voice. I was just chatting with my colleague and my former teacher. It is the president who said corruption is bad. You go to LC3 in your sub-county. He will never talk the way the president talks. You go to your district chairman, where resources go. He will not talk against corruption like the president talks, like Honorable Chivubi talks. And then you expect us to be fighting corruption. And when I tell you the Gen Zs, you go to parliament. Even when rightly so, the pain they are facing is at the local council. You tell them go to parliament. So it becomes something political. And when politics comes in, it takes different dimensions. It's very wrong for us now to, we like jumping on bandwagons. Indeed, we all know that the Ugandan population is largely young. And they have unique challenges to their generation. But they are not, these challenges are not new. We have been talking about why we need to improve our education system. We have talked, me as Chris have talked for the last 20 years that we have been theorizing our education, equipping our students with stories of Europe, which do not have any value on how they harness the environment. Then you say, I have a bachelor's in this. We have veterinary doctors in Uganda who cannot milk a cow.
But
And farmers.
I want to go back to where you've gone to the district.
Farmers are crying for veterinary doctors.
Could it be that these young people you're talking about are pinning Parliament because they're looking at the role of oversight of Parliament and questioning, especially even when you've talked about the districts?
If it is about the role of oversight of Parliament, Parliament does not do everything, perhaps to the satisfaction. But if you're genuine on critiquing Parliament, he will speak about reports he has written about corruption. He's here. He chairs a committee. Even in the cooperatives you are talking about, that has led to some members being taken to Luzira. They are not yet guilty until proven so. It is Parliament of Uganda that investigated. And he gave a report on the cooperatives. And he said the police take over. So why are you saying Parliament is doing nothing? By the way, the cooperative safety, he said, when did it begin? This thing was in the 10th Parliament. You know that. So you don't want to go to when did it begin. We shall make things very complicated. It is the 11th Parliament that looked into this matter, produced a report, and said, we have lost money. That report of Parliament is where action is being taken. So why are you saying Parliament is doing oversight? Is it doing 100% right? I am not sure. He's here to tell you. But to say we want a Parliament, it brings a lot of concerns. And when you make matters political, Honorable Chief will want to come to power because he's in Inup. He will get a point to cling on so that he also wins the public. Honorable Dombo will take a position and say, no, I am in power. I will not allow you to come. And the issues get lost. So we need to tell the Gen Zs, one, challenges are resolved in a very structured manner. Leadership is knowledge intensive. Leadership is character assessment. Leadership is a morality test. If they don't have these tools and we send them to the street, we also not helping. Parties have let down the Gen Zs we are talking about. I am not sure there is a political party that has a deliberate program that is training youth leaders from village so that they can take over. But we are all using youth to achieve our ends as old people. Now we have jumped on a bandwagon. The youth are young, but you see, as the old who are talking. The youth are young. What have you done before you became old? As Dr. Twin, as Obora, as Dombo. Why did you allow the situation to reach where it has reached? Now we want to appeal to them Because we know we never gave them practical education. They went through our school system and got what do you have a bachelor's in veterinary medicine? Take them to a farm, they run away from a cow udder. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's what happens. So what are we talking about? It is not their problem. Where were you? Where were we? So let's not meet the Gen Zs. Let's tell them leadership is a challenge. And there is no country without challenges. Now, if we teach them the sense of entitlement, that me I want, tomorrow they will be the only people who will give them. So anarchy may not be a proper approach to resolving our challenges, but a dialogue. And there's a discussion. I was discussing again with him. At one point, Sarah is a human rights activist. Says every person has a right to fair hearing, isn't it? There is also a lawyer. Me, I'm not. President Museveni has been saying, don't give bail to corrupt people. Don't give bail to murderers. Sarah will say, no. Due process.
Of course.
But when it comes to the corrupt, you declare Dombo corrupt, kill him.
Who has said so?
That's what you are teaching the Gen Zs to do.
No.
That someone is corrupt because you have said they are corrupt.
Chris,
Instead of saying if Nyangosho is corrupt, let us equip the police to really investigate and find out that he is corrupt. Let us equip the DPP. The DPP may be having lots of challenges. What have we done to the office of the DPP to ensure that they prosecute? We are abusing IGG. What have we done to support IGG? We are abusing courts. What have we done to support courts? If we do not build these institutions deliberately, we are going to run in circles and lead to anarchy. And that's why I don't want to speak with security. They have a higher advantage of intelligence. They do what they do based on their situation assessment. So I cannot say where were people deployed there. That's purely a security matter. But let us not jump on the bandwagon of Gen Zs to serve our selfish interests as old people who failed from the word go to nurture these people, to be productive, to nurture their talents. If I told you today, there are some people who want to go to Makerere, but they want to play football. Where are football pitches?
thank you. Let me bring in Honorable Chivumbi. Honorable, yesterday I saw you on the floor of Parliament, and I also saw some of your colleagues questioning the deployment, especially around Mambas, around heavy deployment, demonstrations happening, and you made statements on the floor of Parliament. When you look at these demonstrations and look at where we're going as a country, are they valid?
First of all, I've listened to the discussion here with a bit. I listened to the passion of the professor, and he's a typical professor. He thinks you can pick a data byte and solve a problem. He came with the theory of public-private partnership. I think now, once you fix it in the equation, Uganda is reset. That's why I have a very big disagreement with a lot of fellows in the Ministry of Finance. And the people who are thinking about this economy, they think that you can fix this country by fixing an economy. The problem is bigger than that. Let me start with the president's speech. The president, in a home given to him by the people of Uganda, straight away offends the constitution and let him go away with it. He says those who are going to demonstrate
Expect fire.
expect fire. The constitution he vowed to protect very clearly in Article 20, 24, up to 29. I will even speak up to 43, where there are limitations. Says fundamental rights are inherent and not granted by the state. That's where we come from. That fundamental rights are inherent and not granted. And it puts the responsibility of all government agencies and persons to respect, uphold, and promote the enjoyment of rights. Therefore, the security forces, by the command of the Constitution, their first call is to ensure that the right to assemble, to demonstrate, is enjoyed. The exception is where you call a limitation. But for you, you pick the exception to be the rule, and the rule to be the exception. We went ahead. It is the subject of constitutional interpretation. I personally, having faced a lot of the challenges these young people faced as a youth activist, petitioned the Constitutional Court on the powers of police to prohibit a demonstration, an assembly, or a gathering. The Constitutional Court, in my petition, Mwanga Chivumbi versus the Attorney General, okay, which was not even appealed at the Supreme Court, no one even dared to appeal, ruled critically, police do not enjoy the powers to prohibit a gathering. Yeah. They can only regulate. Then you come from a paradigm where rights are granted. Now, when the President of the Republic of Uganda, sitting in a home we pay for, offends a constitution in so provocative a manner, and you say, oh, he has spoken, you have an issue. Then, together with civil society, Honorable Dombo can bear me witness. When I just joined Parliament, I found a huge debate about the Public Order Management Act. And him, who was the senior legislator, we made a case to uphold that ruling. Even the sections that infringed that ruling, the civil society and myself went back to the court. Yeah. And we packed the Public Order Management Act as an constitutional document. Therefore, one of the cardinal principles of the 4-5 challenges, which these intellectuals don't fix, one of them is the obvious one. The biggest challenge to security in all African countries, by the way, today, are not armed people. It is how do you plan and deal with the new population back, these young people. They pose the biggest challenge. We are so lucky that these Arab countries have sorted out their economies and they are relieving you. I looked at the audit report that gave me a figure of 140,000 Ugandans in the year under audit review
in the Middle East.
Were able to go to Middle East. The auditor, then they said, you know, because I'm investigating whether the monies came in for job placement, I won't go to the detail. Therefore, because they were now distributing, they are saying there are 46,000 in one single year. They don't come to UMI.
Which people?
The young people are not coming to you for training. They are running. No, they are running. How many have your numbers of UMI? By the way, I've run your numbers. I know. I was there to audit you. I've run your numbers. I have run your numbers and I know them. You cannot qualitatively influence what Ugandans are dealing with, not through UMI.
No. Let him finish.
You've had your day. So the biggest challenge is how to deal, and it poses existential threat. He has put it. Young people want to have jobs, to have income, to lead a happy life. That's there. They want to exercise their potential. You are limiting them through technology, Facebook, and limiting their chances. The second biggest challenge you face is what the president touched, by the way, is climate change. If you are still having your 70% of the population stuck in agriculture, then you need to protect the environment. That's how critical it is. Then the second biggest issue you have in Africa is corruption. Corruption erodes away efficiency of service delivery and creates a deficiency. Then the fourth one is democratic deficit, which I tackled at first place, that where democracy is, rights are inhibited, and you think you are going to use gunpowder, men, boots, and power to quell dissatisfaction, you are just joking. And actually, for me, it demonstrated the level of fear. Because for the first time, the population was speaking the same. The demonstrators were helping the president. The president said, hey, you want to help me? I don't need you. I'll bring forces. I'll bring your enemies, because he brought, and I spoke about it, he brought assets that are preserve of war. You bring a mamba, you bring a what? That is going to war. He did not bring anti-riot, by the words, we know it. The assets brought on the street, and Dombo says, oh, we demonstrated the capacity.
And those vehicles for snipers.
And Dombo is just saying,
capacity against citizens.
Now, against who is the
And
enemy
armed
here?
citizens.
You see, these weapons, this capacity we have acquired and capabilities have sovereign protection when our sovereignty is under question. But you cannot afford to use them internally to query a democratic dissent. That's it. And for the professor, they think you can fix PP. These are the critical issues that the population faces and deals with. Now, let me turn to corruption. We must define corruption in its broadest sense and give it a broad meaning. Why did the rain start beating us? It is Raila who asked. Eh? Yes, forget about Owichitiba. Don't divert me. I clarified about Owichitiba. When did the rain start beating us? You know, when you start to lose a role model leader, you set a country to levels you cannot manage. The day the president began to come to that parliament, and Dombo, you were there, and you are lining up somewhere for 5 million to amend the constitution, to accord the president, because it's also there because of corruption. Otherwise, if he did not give money to the likes of, I don't know why Dombo, I don't want to allege because I don't have a list of those people. If he did not give money, okay, to parliament then, to amend the constitution, today we would have had 2 other presidents, because we are now 20 years since that happened. 2 other presidents. And do you know the relief the country would have gone by a mere change, even if it was NRM, from one president to another set of leaders, another set of friends, another set of capabilities. Because when I come in, the first people I pick on are the people I know.
Which is corruption.
No, it's not corruption.
No,
it's not corruption.
you must build a team.
You must build a team. And that means replacing those I don't know. And that itself sets in motion a different kind of emotion and feeling in the country. You've been denied that. We had a second go. Dombo was there. There was called the age limit. There was Article 110. You had left, I think, by that time.
I had left.
You had Article 110. If a president of Uganda can have a dialogue with members of parliament on how to transact, give me, pass for me this amendment, I'll give you this. And you are a head of state. You sit with your caucus and you have a conversation how much you should procure them.
He even gave them Chuano of a 7th term.
And how much you should procure them. And you are head of state. 2, what example do you set? If you, on this panel, just you, you invited your wife, your brother, your uncle, your muko, and said they are panelists to discuss, how many Ugandans will listen to you? Now, when a president gets the moral courage to say, now my wife can be minister, my son is the CDF, my brother, someone is government, cabinet, members of this government as if he's government himself. People go to Salim Saleh as if he has any constitutional position in Uganda. All of you, all these agencies, they headed to Namunkekera, or to follow him to Gulu. Under which arrangement? So if you are going to tackle, let's go all the way and ask those broad questions. If you are speaking about parliament, how did you come to have the leadership that you have of parliament? Domboy was there. How comes today I'm one of the senior legislators? What has happened in your constituencies? Some of you are being defeated in party primaries, undermined by state apparatus. Today you can do Katebe at Secretariat. But it's the system. Actually, the opposition did not defeat you. So how did you come losing all these senior leaders? By the way, Parliament is a house of younger people. He can go and Google for you. Parliament is the house of very highly educated people. When you look on the average, the minimum average education is a bachelor.
Then why are you talking about against UMI that we cannot
Okay.
do?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no,
Lastly, Honorable.
So, so therefore, my bone of contention, the take of the youth. The youth are saying they may be misdirected, but at least they forced a conversation. They forced a conversation on corruption. Are they making the right targets? My answer is no. But the most important thing is for them to be able to call that even today at UBC, the whole night we have a professor, we have a director, we have him, we have a doctor, we are discussing this issue. That's a credit that goes to them. And they've done so well. It doesn't matter the numbers that turned up. The numbers could do, numbers in quality struggles are not an issue. You can generate them over time. They only need to persist in doing what they do, and the cost is a little higher. Now, you cannot have a prison where you took people who are corrupt. It is in the same prison where you have also taken those who have demonstrated against corruption.
But moderator,
No, sir.
you have denied us. This one has taken, this honorable has taken too much time.
But Professor, you also had time.
Before we take that break, go to our extract form. Let us know what you think. Go to the number 0709 60 25 92. That's our WhatsApp number. Drop your text by WhatsApp
No, it's not
or
corruption.
text there and let us know what you think. Let's come back after this break.